If you're into corporate revenge stories where one small, ego-driven mistake triggers a complete collapse, stay until the end. Because this isn't just about a fired employee. It's about a CEO who destroyed a $150 million deal over a $10 coffee, and the worst part, he didn't realize it until everything was already gone. The lobby clock had just crossed 8:15 a.m. when Victor Hale entered Asteron Technologies like a man, walking into a battlefield he believed he already owned. He didn't greet anyone, he didn't acknowledge the staff, he didn't even slow down, his eyes locked instantly on Maya Lawson standing at the reception desk holding a stack of merger, transition files, and in his hand, a crumpled receipt. Before Maya could speak, Victor was already in front of her. He grabbed her arm hard enough to stop her movement and shoved the paper toward her face. "What is this?" he demanded. The lobby froze. Employees stopped walking. Visitors turned. Even the board delegates near the elevators went silent. It was a $10 premium coffee receipt. Victor raised his voice even higher. "This is exactly how companies collapse. $10 becomes theft. Theft becomes corruption. Corruption destroys empires." He wasn't speaking to Maya anymore. He was performing for the entire room. Maya didn't react. That irritated him more. He continued, voice sharp and cutting. "You think this company runs on your little personal expenses? You're replaceable. Completely replaceable." The word hung in the air, replaceable. That was when he finally said it. "Pack your things. You're fired." Effective immediately. Silence followed, heavy, uncomfortable, final. Maya. Lawson had spent 9 months holding together the most sensitive phase of a $150 million merger between Asteron Technologies and Northbridge Capital. She knew every system, every compliance dependency, every hidden liability. But Victor didn't know any of that. He only saw authority in his own voice. Maya calmly removed her ID badge, placed it on the reception desk, and nodded once. No protest, no emotion, just controlled silence. Security moved in quickly. As she was escorted out, Victor straightened his suit, clearly satisfied. He believed he had just demonstrated leadership. But what he had actually done was remove the single point of control holding the entire merger together. And in the corner of the lobby, someone had seen everything. And that silent observer wasn't just any executive. He was the one person Victor could not afford to impress or offend. Outside, the morning air felt strangely still. Maya didn't rush. She didn't panic. She didn't even look back at the building. She walked calmly to her car and sat inside, closing the door slowly like nothing had happened. But inside, her mind was already moving faster than the entire company upstairs. Victor thought he had fired an operations director. He hadn't, and that was the problem. The coffee receipt wasn't for her. It had been for someone sitting quietly in the lobby during the entire incident. Ethan Cross, Chief Due Diligence Officer at Northbridge Capital, the company acquiring Asteron for $150 million. Ethan wasn't emotional. He wasn't impressed by titles. And he absolutely despised executives who confused aggression with leadership. Maya had personally delivered that coffee to him earlier that morning, not as a favor, but as part of a carefully planned onboarding experience for the final merger audit. Victor never even noticed him sitting 20 feet away. He was too focused on performance leadership, too focused on control, too focused on the wrong target. Maya opened her laptop at a quiet roadside diner a few minutes later. No shaking hands, no hesitation, just precision. She logged into the merger compliance dashboard. Everything was still active under her credentials, because legally, it had to be. Her role wasn't symbolic, it was federally required, Certified Integration Authority, a position embedded directly into the merger's legal architecture. Without it, the system could not proceed, and Victor had just triggered the removal protocol, not knowing what he had actually done. By the time Victor was enjoying his victory upstairs, The entire merger was already entering a silent countdown to collapse. At 9:15 a.m., Maya watched the first shift in status appear on her screen. Access suspended. Not because she failed, because she had been terminated, and in corporate compliance systems like this, termination isn't personal, it's structural. The merger framework was governed by automated federal compliance protocols. Every 60 minutes, the system verified whether the certified integration authority was active. If not, it would freeze the entire transaction chain. Victor had unknowingly created that condition the moment he fired her. And now, the system was responding exactly as designed. Maya leaned back in her chair, watching the clock. No urgency in her movements, only certainty. Her phone started, vibrating. Then again and again. Internal teams were panicking, compliance officers confused. IT, department scrambling. But she didn't respond, not a single message. Instead, she made one call, Ethan Cross. He picked up immediately. "I saw everything," he said flatly. "That CEO of yours just detonated a $150 million deal over a coffee receipt." Maya exhaled slowly. "Remove the only active compliance authority. Tied to federal clearance protocols," she replied. "The system will fully lock within the hour." A pause. Then Ethan responded. "So it's over." Maya looked out the diner window. Not yet, but soon. And upstairs, Victor was still celebrating, completely unaware that his entire empire had already started slipping out of his hands. By 10:15 a.m., Victor was in full control of the illusion. Champagne flowed, executives laughed at jokes they didn't find funny, bored. Members nodded at everything he said, and Victor loved it. He even used Maya's firing as a story. "A company has to remove inefficiency," he said proudly, "even when it looks uncomfortable." No one challenged him, because no one knew the system was already breaking. At 10:25 a.m., they entered the final signing room. The atmosphere shifted instantly. This was the moment. Victor sat at the head of the table, like a man about to close history. Across from him sat Northbridge, Capital's executives, and Ethan Cross, silent, watching, waiting. Victor opened the merger interface, smiled, pressed. "Confirm." The screen turned red. "Success." "Denied." "Federal compliance. Failure." Victor blinked once, then laughed. "It's just a system delay," he said, confidently, but nobody laughed with him. He called it, then demanded overrides, then threatened firings. Nothing worked. The system didn't respond to authority-only protocol. Ethan finally spoke. "That isn't a glitch," he said, quietly. Victor's smile started to fade. For the first time that day, uncertainty entered the room, and in the next 30 minutes, Victor would discover that confidence means nothing when the system itself has already decided your deal is invalid. By 11 a.m., silence replaced celebration. Phones lit up across the table. Alerts. Warnings. Regulatory failures, and then the truth surfaced. The certified integration authority had been terminated. Maya Lawson removed at 8:15 a.m. by Victor's order. A heavy silence spread across the boardroom. Ethan finally looked at Victor. "You fired the only person authorized to complete this merger." Victor didn't respond immediately because there was nothing to say. His phone rang. The board chairman, angry, before Victor could even speak. "What did you do?" Then came the second wave. Northbridge Capital stood up. Their CEO spoke calmly. "We're terminating the deal. No emotion, no negotiation, just finality." Within minutes, they left the room, and with them, $150 million vanished. Victor stood frozen, watching his entire career collapse without a single person raising their voice, because none was needed anymore. By noon, Victor wasn't fighting to save the deal anymore. He was fighting to understand how quickly everything had slipped beyond recovery. The board meeting that followed was short, cold, final. Victor was terminated for gross negligence, no severance, no appeal, no legacy, just removal. By afternoon, Maya received another call. The chairman. No ego this time, only urgency. They needed her back. Not as director, as senior vice president of Global Integration and Compliance. She didn't answer. Immediately, she set terms. Full autonomy, no executive interference, direct control over compliance architecture. They agreed, instantly, because they had no leverage left. The next morning, Maya returned. Same building, same lobby, different reality. Whispers followed her footsteps. Respect replaced dismissal. Near the security gate, a cardboard box sat sealed. Victor's belongings, gone, erased. She didn't stop, just looked once, then continued walking. Inside the elevator, she held a fresh cup of coffee, same $10 blend, but now it meant something entirely different. Not hospitality, not routine. Victory. And that's what happens when ego speaks louder than understanding. If you want more stories where one decision destroys powerful people in minutes, subscribe and stay tuned because the next one is even worse.